Coming up on AEA Amplified, we visit with Guy Hill and Carrie Crawford to learn what's new with VIAVI Solutions.
From the Aircraft Electronics Association, this is AEA Amplified, a podcast for aviation's technology experts, with your host, Jeff Hill.
Hello, friends, and welcome to AEA Amplified, sponsored by Genesis Aerosystems, a mode company and a leading provider of autopilots for rotor and fixed-wing aircraft. The Genesis S-Tech 5000 is the latest digital autopilot, providing increased safety plus decreased pilot workload, and it's being certified for Part 23 and Part 25 retrofit aircraft, such as high-performance turboprop and turbine jet aircraft. To learn more about the S-Tech 5000, visit genesis-aerosystems.com. Hi again, everybody. I'm your host, Jeff Hill, for this February 25th, 2022 edition of AA Amplified. And our guests today are certainly no strangers to many AA members. I'm joined today by Guy Hill and Carrie Crawford of VIAVI Solutions to hear the latest on the company's products for the avionics industry. So Guy and Carrie, thank you so much for joining us today. And before we dive into all the happenings at VIAVI, if you could, can you both maybe take a moment to introduce yourself and tell us about your aviation careers along with what your roles are with the company? Guy, you are the Director of Avionics Test Products, I believe, so let's start with you.
Hi, Jeff. Thank you. I started my career at Boeing as a design engineer developing airborne equipment for military aircraft. From Boeing, I joined IFR, which is now VIAVI, working in the avionics test product group, and have held various positions such as design engineer, product manager, program manager, and now I have a role as product line director. Basically, I've been in the aviation industry for the majority of my career.
Very good. And Carrie, I believe you are the product manager of Avionics Test Products, so let's hear your story.
Yeah, Jeff, and thanks for having us today. I started with JCR back in 1988 as a technician. Since then, I've had various roles throughout the company, and today I'm a product manager for VIAVI, supporting our flight line test solutions.
Very good. And I know many avionics technicians, repair station owners, and all the AA members are certainly familiar with VIAVI in recent years, but maybe for those who aren't quite as aware of your company's history, I'd like to dive into that for just a moment. And there's a fairly lengthy backstory with name changes, acquisitions, and so forth. So some industry folks may be more familiar, say, with IFR Systems, JC Air, Aeroflex, Goodrich, Cobham, just to name a few. Guy, could you maybe walk us through that timeline from a branding standpoint as your company has evolved into what is now VIAVI Solutions?
I sure can. Thank you very much for asking this question. We have had several name changes over the years, and it's always a challenge to ensure brand recognition. So IFR was founded in 1968, started out providing transponder, TCAS, NAVCOM, weather radar test sets. It was acquired in 2002 by Aeroflex. Likewise, JCR, founded in 1982, focused on ATE custom test panels. It was owned by Goodrich for a while and then purchased in Aeroflex in 2005. The IFR JCR product lines were merged and we operated under the Aeroflex banner up until Cobham purchased all of Aeroflex in 2014. Many of our customers still recognize us as Aeroflex. In 2018, VIAVI purchased just the test equipment piece of the business from Cobham. And so we're a really good fit with VIAVI. They're a test equipment company. They understand what it means to be in this business. They invest in it and protect it. They have invested heavily in our product line, and I anticipate we'll carry the VIAVI logo for the duration.
Yeah, it's quite a history, and thank you for sharing that. Carrie, I know that you're a regular attendee at the AEA convention each year, and last June when we had our show in Dallas, I know that you were on stage and participated in our annual new product introduction session, which is one of the most popular sessions at our show. And there last June, you unveiled the AVX-10K flight line test set. So can you tell us exactly what the AVX-10K is, what it does, what's new with the product, and maybe how it's been received by the market since you launched it last year?
Yeah, Jeff, thanks for the question on that. As you know, we have the IFR 4000 and the IFR 6000, and just about every 145 out there, or a lot of MROs and the OEMs are currently supporting and using that equipment. So what we've done is we've taken the best of those two products that the industry really seems to love, and we've combined them into a single unit, the AVX-10K. And what the 10K does is test, as you know, many airborne systems on an aircraft. I like to say the communication, navigation, and surveillance airborne systems. Along with those, we also test both legacy and current Gen 1, Gen 2 ELTs, and added a lot of different capability to it, including BizWire, DTF testing, remote control, and so on and so forth. As far as communication goes, we test all pilot communications systems on the aircraft. We also test in-flight and approach navigation systems, surveillance systems such as transponder, ADS-B, TCAS, decoding the information coming out of the aircraft, and also generating traffic. We generate ADS-B, ADS-R, TIS-B traffic. So the product really does a lot. It has a lot of capability, a multitude of tests that it can perform. It was very well received. We were very pleased with how the market received the 10K when we announced it at AEA. It was a great event for us. We've had a difficult time keeping the product on the shelf, to be honest with you. But the industry and the users out there, they really love having so much capability all into one unit. And it's interesting because every time we go out and perform a demo with a customer, they want to keep the unit. We have a hard time getting out of the door with the product that we took there. So that's always a good thing to hear. But what they really love too is the wireless capability. We have what's called the mobile tech app, so you can actually use your remote device or your portable device, even your phone, an iOS or Android. We can control the unit via both Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. And the technicians really love that. As soon as they find out about that, then they're immediately grabbing their phone and they're going out to the Google Play Store and downloading the application. And within 5 minutes, they're controlling the unit. So they love that. They love to be able to set the unit down on the floor, go up in the cockpit, do their testing from their phone or their tablet. So it's been well received, having remote capability. We've also got what's called Smart Access Anywhere. That allows us to actually remote into a customer's unit. If they're having issues, if they want us to show them through some screens or a certain test application, we're more than happy to do that. And then we have a nice feature that VIAVI has, which is called StrataSync. And this is a great feature because it allows the users to manage their unit, the firmware, keep the firmware up to date. Whenever we have a new update, we'll post it on StrataSync. And what happens there is if a customer has a registered StrataSync account with us, which is free, by the way, they will get an email notification that there's a new firmware update or new option available. So it just allows them to keep their product up to date. So that's been very, very well received.
Now, that's great news that it's been so well received. Not surprising there by AA members, and thanks so much for launching it. I know, Guy, if you wanted to jump in there and add anything to that.
I think Carrie pretty well covered it. Great job.
Very good. Well, Carrie, I know that VIAVI is also well known for your antenna couplers that reduces RF interference during 411, 413 ground testing for ADS-B. So what's the latest with your antenna couplers?
That's a good question because there is a lot of issues out there right now with when you're doing testing on your aircraft, your 411, 413s, whenever you have your aircraft pumped up above field elevation, and if you don't have your ADS-B transponder antenna shielded, then you could be picked up by an ADS-B ground station and rebroadcast. So as you know, the FAA put out a safety advisory for operators on that a couple of years back regarding making sure that you're following proper test procedures and using antenna shielding or antenna coupling. So we've been working closely with industry and even with the FAA's ADS-B focus team to help with, I guess, what you might want to call repeat offenders out there that are having problems. And even if they're using some of our antenna couplers, they still may have RF leakage just because these ADS-B ground stations are, they can hear a pin drop from 5 miles away. So the couplers are only going to provide you with up to about 30 dB of attenuation, and your transponder's putting out about 55 dB of power, so you can do the math. So you may have a little bit of leakage, and that leakage can get out there and be picked up by the ground station. So we're doing whatever we can to help maximize the attenuation you get out of the couplers. You might have to use some RF clock and actually do your testing in the hangar, or even alter your procedures to be able to not be picked up by the ground station. So one of the latest products that we have is the TC201A, and we're working closely with a couple of OEMs with that product right now, which actually works on what's called the combined transponder and TCAS antennas. So the OEMs are getting smart on us, and they're actually combining those two functions into one single antenna. And this is a larger antenna and actually more suited for the air transport market. So that's our latest on our antenna couplers today.
Excellent. Well, Guy, and there's a topic I want to ask you about that's kind of been in the news lately. That's radar altimeters. And as most aviation professionals are certainly aware of this issue and the potential 5G interference with altimeters. And there's been a lot of back and forth on that issue lately, especially between the FAA and the FCC. And it's even had some congressional hearings here in the last couple of weeks. So given the importance of this subject, I'd like to learn more about VIAVI's radio altimeter testing and the latest on that product line. Can you shed more light on that topic for our listeners?
Sure, be happy to. We have a couple radar altimeter test sets available on the market today. Our Alt 8000, which is targeted for the commercial market, and the Alt 8015, which is targeted for pulse type altimeters in the military market. Both products are unique in that they fully test the radar altimeter system. You can test the LRU, feeder cable, and antennas. It's basically equivalent of an RF over-the-air measurement. They allow you to create static dynamic altitude simulations and perform parametric measurements. We have a new product that is just now releasing, the Alt 9000, which provides true RF time delay and path loss models to test any format of radar altimeter system, including low probability of intercept, LPI, combined radar altimeter, the CARA generation, and the next generation variants. So our radar altimeter test sets can be used for normal test verification of a radar altimeter, but in regards to the issue of potential 5G interference, our equipment can be used to help check the susceptibility of a radar altimeter from 5G interference. This is accomplished by either injecting a signal directly, utilizing the antenna couplers that we provide, or in free airspace, utilizing the 9000 with an actual antenna, and then performing the same altitude simulation and parametric testing. VIAVI also has other products to assist in 5G interference testing. These include our Ranger product, which allows recording and playback of RF signals. For example, a 5G signal could be recorded and played back to simulate a 5G environment. We also have a product called OneAdvisor 800, which provides real-time spectrum analysis for the 5G C-band frequency. On this subject, we just released an ebook that provides a more in-depth discussion of this topic. You can look for it on the VIAVI website.
And once again, we are visiting with Guy Hill and Carrie Crawford of VIAVI Solutions here on AA Amplified, sponsored by Genesis Aerosystems, a Moog company. And Carrie, your company also deals with both GPS simulation as well as fuel quantity systems testing. I know those are different things, but how so?
Yeah, Jeff, thanks for that question. As we know, GPS is starting to play a lot more, well, it has been for some time, playing a lot more important role in avionics. So there are many airborne systems on the aircraft that require a GPS input. So we have a 12 satellite simulator called the GPS G1000. It does both static and dynamic simulations. So dynamic, that means we can actually simulate actual flight conditions. So you can actually then test subsystems on the aircraft that require a GPS input. For example, in addition to that, you can also test the receiver sensitivity of the GPS itself. If you think about all the other systems on the aircraft, you test the sensitivity, but we don't seem to test sensitivity of GPS. But you can do that with the simulator. In addition to that, other subsystems, the TAWS, or the Terrain Awareness Warning System, you can test that with using a GPS simulator as part of that test setup. And then most importantly, as we all know, ADS-B. ADS-B transponders require a GPS input or they will not respond. They won't respond without a 3D lock. So there's definitely a lot of advantages to using a GPS simulator over using a repeater in your hangar or having to roll your aircraft outside for open sky. So that's a definite good plug for a lot of shops out there that do have the simulator and are using it for a lot of those other applications. As far as fuel goes, we've been in that business for a long time, since 1989, when we were acquired by Goodrich back then. At the same time, Simmons Precision also acquired by Goodrich. We were JCR at the time, and we were since we were the test equipment company, we took over all the fuel quantity test equipment. So we have fuel quantity test equipment for both AC and DC systems for both the commercial and the military market. In addition to that, there's also a separate fuel interface cable set or an interface unit for every specific aircraft platform out there. They all have different ones. So we are looking to the future, and I think in next year's AEA, I think we might have an MPI that we can talk further about fuel.
Sounds great. We'll look forward to that. And Guy, I also know that VIAVI has a lot of support with OEMs and MROs in terms of research and development. So what can you tell us about those relationships?
Sure. So we offer equipment that covers the entire life cycle for both the avionics equipment and the airframe. We provide bench level equipment to the OEMs that they use for design, certification, and manufacture of the actual airborne avionics. We also provide the ramp equipment that's used by the airframe OEMs for certification, maintenance, and repair. All the equipment and test procedures generally flow down to the MROs, repair shops that they use to support. They use those in their own efforts in maintaining aircraft and performing LRU return to service testing. So we try to work closely with both the equipment OEMs and airframe OEMs in developing solutions that are fit for use.
All right, very good. And the another topic that has gotten quite a bit of attention here lately, obviously, is the supply chain. In fact, Avionics News has a cover story on that this month, just that very issue. So I would encourage all our listeners to go check that out at avionicsnews.net. But the supply chain has certainly been strained across multiple industries, and aviation is no exception. And then, of course, another topic that comes up oftentimes in our industry is workforce development. Certainly one of the biggest challenges facing the aviation industry today. So, Guy, let me ask you, how is VIAVI impacted by and dealing with both of those issues?
So you bring up a really good topic. For sure, supply chain has been strained, and as you know, our business is no exception. VIAVI has endeavored to try to get ahead of these issues by purchasing additional inventory. They anticipated this way back, and so we've been buying parts, inventory to put us in a better position to be able to meet customer demand and deliveries. When those issues arise, we also look for design changes where necessary. If a part is not available, we take a look at a possible on a PC board if that's the quickest path, to address it. We're not without a few issues, but in general, our purchasing operations team are doing a great job. In regards to workforce development, we've really been very fortunate to be able to retain key individuals through the pandemic. We have many of the same faces and the same positions for many years. We talked earlier about our legacy from IFR, JCR. We still have a lot of the original people, so we have a lot of experience to build on. This helps us to be in a position to build better products, provide better support, and also to train new faces when those events do occur.
Very good. Well, Guy and Carrie, thanks again for taking time to visit with us here on AA Amplified. And I know there's a lot of technical aspects to your work and the products that you offer there at VIAVI. So, Guy, let me start with you. And then we'll go to Carrie next. Is there anything we missed that you'd like to add or to cover for our podcast listeners?
I don't think so, Jeff. I think you put together a great outline for a discussion today, and we look forward to upcoming AEA where we'll be in person and be able to meet with yourselves and all of our customers.
Great. And Carrie, how about you?
Yeah, I'd like to echo that same sentiment, Jeff. And just one final comment from me is our pedigree, and the guys touched on, and we talked about quite a bit, is we still have a lot of the same people, like I mentioned, and that's important. A lot of people come up to us and they don't really even know who VIAVI is at these trade shows, but it's still the same great people providing the same great products. So, thanks for the opportunity today.
You're certainly welcome. Guy Hill and Carrie Crawford, we look forward to following your company's success well into the future. And for those of you who will be attending the AEA convention in New Orleans next month, you can certainly learn more about VIAVI Solutions by visiting them at their booth in the exhibit hall, and that is booth number 530. And of course, you can check them out online at viavisolutions.com. And before we go, let me remind our listeners of just a few important items. Again, the AEA Educational Foundation is going to award more than 20 scholarships for the 22-23 school year, and they will be awarded to students pursuing a career in avionics or aircraft maintenance, as well as students from AEA member companies. So the deadline to submit a scholarship application is coming up. It's April the 1st, 2022, and scholarship applications are available at aea.net/scholarship. And I also want to encourage those of you planning to attend the AEA International Convention and Trade Show in New Orleans to register for the show if you have not already. Advanced registration is now open through March the 11th. So if you register by March the 11th, you can save $100 per person with that advance rate. And you can do that at aea.net/convention. Again, the show will take place March 28th through the 31st, and that is at the Ernest N. Morial Convention Center in New Orleans. Also, a quick reminder to, if you have not already, to book your hotel rooms now. And why is that important? Well, because the NCAA Men's Basketball Final Four takes place in New Orleans right after the AEA show ends. So rooms are certainly going to be at a premium. You can find a hotel reservations link for the AEA room block at the Hilton New Orleans Riverside. That's at aea.net/convention. Again, today is February the 25th. If you happen to be catching this podcast today, today is one of those deadlines to try to get those hotel reservations in. So I certainly encourage you to do that, as rooms are going to be a premium. Not only the NCAA is there, but they bring their coaches convention there too. So go ahead and get that taken care of. And finally, if your company is hiring, don't forget to post your career opportunities on the AEA jobs board, and that's at aea.net/jobs. Free resume posting is available for all of you job seekers out there. So again, check it out at aea.net/jobs. And that is going to wrap it up for today. And we hope you can join us again soon for another episode of AEA Amplified, sponsored by Genesis Aerosystems, a mode company. To learn more about how Genesis and its full range of products, visit them at genesis-aerosystems.com. Thanks again to Guy Hill and Carrie Crawford for joining us today from VIAVI Solutions. And until next time here on AEA Amplified, this is your host, Jeff Hill, wishing you blue skies ahead, and so long, everybody.